Have you ever wondered why some women seem to create a lasting impact on men that goes far beyond physical attraction? Why is it that even after the thrill of initial desire fades, some women still hold a man's heart in the palm of their hand? The truth is, what keeps a man deeply connected is not simply about what happens in the bedroom. It is about how a woman makes him feel about himself, about life, and about the bond they share. Emotional turn-ons are far more powerful than physical ones, and once you understand them, you will see how men attach at a level that lingers for years, sometimes even for a lifetime. Today, we are going to explore 4 emotional turn-ons that men experience, often silently, and how these feelings can be more intoxicating than any physical touch. These are the forces that make a man look at you and think, "She's different. I can't let her go." Let's begin. The first emotional turn-on is admiration. A man wants to feel like he is respected, seen, and valued. In a world where men are often expected to be strong, to provide, and to carry the weight of responsibility, admiration is like a breath of fresh air. When a woman genuinely admires a man, not for what he owns, but for who he is, she touches a part of him that is usually hidden. He might not always admit it, but he longs to know that the woman by his side sees him as capable, intelligent, and worthy. Imagine how a man feels when you tell him you believe in him, when you notice the small things he does, when you say that his efforts make a difference. That spark of admiration makes him feel like more than just a partner. It makes him feel like your hero. And that sense of being your hero ignites his emotions in a way that physical intimacy alone never could. But admiration is not about flattery. Men can sense the difference between empty words and true recognition. Real admiration comes from paying attention to who he is at his core. It is when you notice his persistence, his kindness, his creativity, or his sense of humor. It is when you tell him, "I'm proud of you," not because of a paycheck or a title, but because of how he handled a tough moment or how he cared for someone else. That kind of emotional connection stays with him long after the moment has passed. Physical attraction might fade with time, but admiration builds a bond that only grows stronger. The second emotional turn-on is trust. Men are deeply moved when a woman shows that she trusts them. This does not mean blind faith, but rather a willingness to lean into the relationship and believe in his intentions. When a man feels that his partner trusts him, it activates a sense of responsibility and devotion inside him. He wants to live up to that trust. He wants to protect it. He wants to become the kind of man who deserves it. Trust is magnetic because it makes a man feel safe to be himself. Many men live with the quiet fear that they will be judged, misunderstood, or rejected for showing vulnerability. But when you give him trust, you give him permission to drop the mask he wears for the world. Think about the moment when a man opens up to you about his fears, his dreams, or his insecurities. If he feels that you trust his heart even when he is not perfect, that experience creates an emotional intimacy that is far more powerful than physical closeness. He will remember the way you made him feel seen and accepted without judgment. That memory becomes a treasure he carries with him. Trust also shows up in the little things. When you let him take the lead on something important and you don't second-guess him. When you believe in his ability to solve a problem even if his approach is different from yours. When you show patience instead of criticism. These small acts of trust signal to him that he is not just your partner, he is your teammate. And once a man feels trusted, his loyalty deepens in ways that physical attraction alone can never match. The third emotional turn-on is acceptance. At the heart of every man is the desire to be loved not for what he does, but for who he is. Acceptance means you embrace his flaws along with his strengths. It means you understand that he is human, that he makes mistakes, and that you do not measure his worth against perfection. This does not mean tolerating bad behavior, but it does mean allowing him to show his real self without fear of rejection. When a man feels accepted, something profound happens inside him. He no longer feels the need to perform, to impress, or to hide behind an image. He begins to relax into the relationship, and that relaxation turns into deep trust and love. Acceptance is what allows him to share the side of himself that the rest of the world never sees. It could be the childhood stories that shaped him, the secret passions he hides, or the quiet doubts he carries. Knowing that you will not judge him for these parts of himself makes him feel cherished in a way no physical intimacy ever could. Acceptance is one of the most powerful emotional turn-ons because it mirrors the deepest human need, to belong. Imagine how a man feels when he knows that with you, he does not have to pretend. He can be silly, serious, ambitious, or vulnerable, and you will not only stay, you will love him more because of it. That kind of acceptance bonds a man's heart to yours in ways that make him return again and again, no matter how life changes. And now we arrive at the fourth emotional turn-on, which may be the most powerful of all: inspiration. Men are drawn to women who inspire them to become better, not because of pressure or criticism, but because being with her awakens something inside them. Inspiration is not about demanding change, it is about igniting possibility. It is when your presence in his life makes him want to rise higher, to reach further, to become the best version of himself. Think about the way a man feels when you encourage his dreams, when you remind him of his strengths, when you challenge him to see what he is capable of. Inspiration is an emotional fuel. It tells him, "You are more than you think, and I see that greatness in you." That message stirs his heart in a way that physical intimacy never could. He begins to connect your presence with his sense of purpose. He feels that being with you is not just about love, but about growth, about becoming more than he was before. And that feeling is addictive. Inspiration can come through your words, but it also comes through your actions. When you live authentically, when you pursue your own passions, when you carry yourself with self-respect and grace, you inspire him without saying a word. Men are deeply moved by women who embody strength and softness, who remind them that life can be richer, deeper, and more meaningful. That kind of inspiration is unforgettable. These four emotional turn-ons, admiration, trust, acceptance, and inspiration, form the foundation of a bond that goes far beyond the physical. They awaken in a man the desire not just to stay, but to invest, to cherish, and to grow with you. Physical chemistry might spark the beginning, but it is these emotional connections that keep the fire alive. When a man experiences admiration, he feels valued. When he feels trusted, he feels safe. When he is accepted, he feels loved. And when he is inspired, he feels alive. Put all of these together, and you create a connection that no other woman can easily replace. This is why some women are unforgettable. This is why some relationships last a lifetime. So if you are wondering how to reach a man's heart in the most profound way, look beyond the surface. Notice him, trust him, accept him, and inspire him. These are the emotional turn-ons that will draw him closer to you than anything else ever could. And here's the secret. When you give a man these gifts, he will not only cherish you, he will also mirror them back to you. He will admire you in return, trust you with his heart, accept you fully, and be inspired to love you even more deeply. That is the beauty of emotional connection. It multiplies, it deepens, and it lasts. So remember, while physical attraction may open the door, emotional intimacy is what keeps him walking through it again and again. If you understand and embrace these four emotional turn-ons, you will discover that you hold the key to a man's deepest desire. The desire not just for passion, but for a bond that endures.